This week's presentation. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. Suzanne, I don't think I can, Salimbene.
Yeah.
Whew. Keeping dance alive during COVID and into the future. As everyone knows, the pandemic has been a disaster for all members of the performing arts, but especially so to professional dancers. The dancers of Ballet de Jalisco have had a particularly difficult time. They have not performed since December of 2019. Boy, that's a long time ago. Breaks my heart. Assisted by several of the dancers, which you can see are here, we will learn how they, like many ballet professionals worldwide, have kept their craft alive and how they are preparing for the future. The dancers will describe and demonstrate, first working alone in their homes, then taking classes on Zoom, finally back in the studio. And at the end, there will be a glance of a very positive future growth for dancers in Guadalajara with new opportunities for both dancers and audiences. Please welcome Suzanne. She is a tremendous supporter of the ballet.
First of all, thanks for being here in spite of the weather. It's really, we didn't know what we were going to get, and my guests came from Guadalajara, and they made it on time in spite of weather. As you probably know, the Ballet de Jalisco is the only state-supported ballet company in the state. The company was created under the direction of Dario Blacha in August 2013. I'm often known around here as the ballet lady. The reason is, first of all, when I was living in Guadalajara before moving here, I met Slauka, one of the instructors, a former ballerina with the National Ballet, and the wife of the director. She invited me to come to a rehearsal and to see the class. And while I was living in Guadalajara, I went pretty much once a week since August of 2013. Now, since moving here, I organized a couple of fundraisers for the ballet, and I've sold tickets and arranged transportation to some of the performances. Today, with the help of Flauka and Rodrigo and Andrea, two members of the company, I hope to show you what a heroic effort it is for ballet companies to keep alive and keep their spirits up during this very difficult time. When the studio was closed because of COVID in March 2020, the dancers had to keep in shape on their own and at home. But ballet classes at every level, every place in the world, usually take the same form. First there is a bar warm-up, then there is center work, and adagio, and then there are leaps and turns from a diagonal on the floor. Can't do that in small apartments. So what I'd like to do is ask Rodrigo, how much space do you have in your own home?
Is it on?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, something like this is the space I have in my own home. When I do class there, not right now, we are in the studio, but when we work there, I have like a chair, then the oven here, the refrigerator here, the table. So it's not the same as the space we're used to. And it's not only that, it's also the floor.
Yes.
If you can see, we don't have like anything that help us like bounce on the floor that we have in the studio. The way it's, the floor we have there has springs, a kind of springs that help us not get injured and everything. In my house, I have a floor like this one, so that's the part.
And what did it feel like working alone without your classmates and company members?
Well, for everyone, it's difficult to live
Yeah.
apart from everybody. But when you're in the studio, you see another company member and you say, ah, I like the way he moves the arms. I like the way he sees the other dancer when you're doing pas de deux. When you're in your own home, you didn't even see yourself. You don't have the mirror we are used to. So it feel like if you are in a, how do you say this, un espacio en blanco, you can see anything.
Face.
Yeah, blank space. You can not learn from others, you cannot interact from others, and you don't get the inspiration you have with your company members, no? with all the other dancers.
Can you demonstrate a few of the things that you were able to do at home?
At home?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just bar. I can do the tendu, this the exercise we start the class with. I can do some more difficult things like the fondue. But if we try a rambat man, if we try to get up, the table here or the TV maybe back, you can do that. That things, some balance maybe. You can do some of that things, but other than that, jumps, some diagonals, it's not. We're not able to do that anymore.
Okay. What about you, Andrea? How did you feel having to work alone?
Can I start in Spanish?
I can help you.
Okay.
¿Cómo te sentiste estando sola? Como gusta más. Si quiere usted, maestro.
Bueno, pues para empezar, pues sí es difícil no tener el maestro contigo en el salón.
It's hard from the beginning. It's hard not to have the teacher with you in the studio.
Pues siempre es una guía que te está corrigiendo, te está guiando para hacer el ejercicio correctamente.
It's always important to have a teacher because they serve as a guide to tell you, give you corrections and tell you how to do the exercise properly.
Y bueno, también es una realidad que como bailarines, pues el trabajo es personal, entonces sí es difícil no estar en el espacio, pero el trabajo sigue siendo pues, único de cada bailarín.
It's also true that dance is an internal work, it's a personal work, and although it is true that you need a teacher and you need the studio, it also has to come from within you, what you need to do to work yourself.
Can you show us how you warmed up or stretched?
Yes, okay.
Over here.
Yo también usaba la silla, mi barandal. Y,
She also used a chair for the class.
The stretch, I hold my feet and stretch my legs and legs.
And what else?
Front, side and back here.
But that's a stretching exercise.
Okay, thank you. Slavka, how did you have to modify classes when the classes started Zoom in August of 2020 to fit both the Zoom medium? How many of you have used Zoom so that you know that the little pictures of the dancers are about yay big and the small spaces that the dancers had to work in?
Oh, it was really tough. It was very hard to adapt the class because as they were explaining, Rodrigo was explaining, class generally consists of bar work, which most could get by doing, but then we had the floor issues. Some had this floor, some had that floor. So you had to be really careful not to injure them. You had to plan the class in a way that would not involve like sharp, even in the bar, like sharp turns of the ankle, so that we call it fuerte, so that nobody would get injured. That you could only do so much. You know, like he was saying, by the end of the bar work, which is when the legs start going up, the warm-up was okay. By the end of the first half of the class, it started to get tough. Because a lot of them didn't have the space even to finish the warm-up by raising their legs, because they were hitting refrigerators, they were hitting televisions. And the center, well, there was only so much we could do. The center work, which is the basic, the most important, the core work of class. They couldn't do the turns, they couldn't raise their legs. A lot of them couldn't, most of them couldn't do any jumps. So instead of doing an hour and a half class, we tried to keep them in shape. Because they were not rehearsing, we were forced to do 40, 45-minute classes because there was nothing else we could do to help them. It was very hard, and the Zooms.
And what about then making corrections on Zoom and talking to different students? I watched some of the Zoom classes and I realized how difficult it was.
Well, it was tough for me. I followed the model of one of the most recognized companies, the English National Ballet, where the director, a famous ballerina named Tamara Rojo, was actually doing the class so that they could watch. I thought that was a good way to go. And then in the center, I just really tried and focused on the little images to give corrections. But to be honest, it was not reasonable to do that. It was not something that they could benefit from. Or that as much as we tried, there was only little corrections that we could give, because how can you tell them, okay, you need to pull up on the pirouette when they're trying their best to turn on hard concrete floor? You couldn't ask them to do a lot. So it was hard, not only designing and adapting the class, but mostly to keep them engaged. I was trying to find the exercises that would be fun and engaging, because I knew the hard time they were going through. That was the hardest part.
I know also you brought in guest instructors from the US, Canada, and I think South America as well.
Yes.
Can you tell us how that worked and why you did it?
Well, because it kind of relates to what I was saying before. It was hard to keep them motivated and engaged. They were tired of the Zooms, they were tired of being confined, of not being able to see their friends and not being able to perform or rehearse. So one day I just thought, well, we've had guest teachers before here who have been really positive for the dancers. Always bringing in a guest teacher is motivational for them. Even though you might tell a dancer a correction 1,000 times, when they hear it from somebody else, boom, it just like kicks in. You don't know what it is. So I thought, why don't we make use of all our friends who are teachers abroad and ask them to teach class in hopes of getting them a little bit more motivated and interested. And the response was like overwhelming. I sent a few emails and everybody was like, yes, we will cooperate. Yes, we will do this for you. And we had, 2 weeks of teachers, guest teachers, and I think it was better.
Rodrigo, how did the guest speakers work for you?
Well, it helped a lot, because as a dancer, you're not there to train, you're there to dance. No, you have to train so you can dance. And if you know that in the near future you're not going to dance, well, you don't have anything to train for. You don't feel like getting up and start doing the bar and the jumps, because you know you're going to be just waiting to see a theater opening, and then you see a lot of people not doing everything they have to do to stop this pandemic, and you get a little frustrated because you know, and we know, this part of the society is the last one that's going to return to the spaces. You can see a lot of jobs adjusting to the new way of work, but how do you adjust theater to a digital space? It's hard, and dance, it's even harder. So the teachers, these guests help us to keep alive that hope that we will be there, because they let us know it's not just here, it's around the world. Everyone that dance, it's living the same status. And sometimes the message gets to you and say, well, we can do it. If they are still fighting and they are still trying to get somewhere, we can do it. So it helped a lot. It helped a lot.
What about you, Andrea? Did you feel that it was very helpful to have the guest speakers?
Yes, of course. Como Rodrigo dice, pues el entrenamiento para nosotros está en el escenario, no solo en el salón.
The training for us is in the stage too, not only in the studio.
Pues también sí es motivante conocer a otras personas, aunque sea a través de la pantalla. Hay muchos conocimientos por
Well, it
aprender.
motivates you to know other people, even on a screen. Helps a lot.
It's interesting, one of the former dancers from the Ballet de Jalisco, who's now with the Grand Ballet Canadiens in Montreal, said to me that when they went on stage, he said to me, you know, when we did recorded internet performances, he said, I felt like, oh, let's just get it over with. And he said the surge he got from being able to dance even a small part of the company was so important to him. It gave him so much energy. Dancers are there to perform. That's why they live. And not taking that away is taking half a life away. When COVID seemed to be winding down, we thought, in October of 2020, studio classes were resumed. However, they had to be split into small groups so that for COVID protection, for having distancing, spatial distancing, etc. And Slavko, what kinds of problems did you have in dividing the classes into smaller groups, and how did that work?
Well, in the beginning, we had to divide the classes into 4 groups, and because of the time constraints, we had to do one class with 8 or 10 dancers, I think it was, and we had to have a video camera to broadcast that into the other studio that had the other 8 dancers or 7 dancers. So it was a little crazy. We had on the headpieces, and we were demonstrating in front of the camera. And I know the students in the other class didn't have the advantage of having a teacher. And like Rodrigo and Suzanne were saying, the dancers get nurtured by performing to audiences, and us as teachers get nurtured by teaching to our dancers and by helping them perform. So being like in the camera and then trying to give corrections here, it was a little bit complicated. Then we got into a better format that we were allowed to join those 2 classes and stop broadcasting, which is the format we are using today. We have around 12 dancers on each group. We have 2 classes per day, and that's been better. At the beginning, it was strange. The first day that we joined both groups, they felt like there were so many people in the room after working with just 8. They were like, oh, we're never going to get through this class, and they were doing a bunch of groups, and it was interesting. But now we have it down to 2 classes in person, and it's better. We hope it'll be even better soon.
Well, I understand. I remember in the beginning, a few of the dancers did get COVID. Are they back again?
Yeah, well, a lot of us got COVID included, but we were in confinement. I think most of our dancers have been vaccinated, which is a good thing. A lot of them did have COVID, and then we had to go back to confinement.
What about the 2 of you? How did it feel going back to class? And what were the results for you in your practicing and your morale?
Well, for me, it's a bit different because I dance, but I also try to help in a lot of other things. So I was in charge of doing all that connection, the broadcasting, the audio. Well, I was the microphone for the teacher. So first of all, it was a bit of stress to get everything ready so everyone in the company could return to the space. But after that, the first thing you notice is the space. You know, the way you can move, it feels like getting out in the open after being in this small 1x1 square.
Yes.
So it feels good, but you still have that information and that knowing that you're not going to dance soon. So the studio helps, but we still need one more step to really be there where we have to be, in the theater, or in the Guadalajara, that beautiful theater.
Slavko, now with the surge of COVID again, can you tell us kind of what directives the company is getting from the state, and if anything is being planned to keep up company spirits, or any plans for the future at the Degollado?
Well, I just want to say that in addition to COVID, we have not performed since 2019 because the former administration, cultural administration, she did not care about ballet, did not want to know anything about ballet. So that set us back for about, I think it was a year and a half. We are now to the third Minister of Culture for changes. So change in dance, to plan anything is not good. That many changes in 3 years has been tough to deal with. We are hoping that now this new person that is in, apparently she's very smart, she's very open, and she is going to be speaking with the director of the Ballet de Jalisco soon. We will find out if she will support our plans. We have proposals to start resume performances with a nutcracker, which I think would be great for the dancers and for the audience. It's a very popular story. We hoping we could do that with a reduced number of not dancers but children. Nutcracker involves a lot of children, so we're hoping to get that.
Maybe I don't know if this could happen, but I think another proposal to start performances is here.
Exactly.
Yes.
In the Auditorio de la Ribera.
Mm-hmm. There is another possibility. We have to figure out scheduling and whether the theater is ready, which has been going through remodeling and stuff. So we're just waiting on news. It's tough because we are at the bottom of the priorities for the government right now. It's all about health and then economic reactivation and education, whether schools are going back or not. And like ballet, they're like, oh, okay, ballet can wait. It's not important for them as other issues like security and all that stuff that the government needs to take care of. So we really have to push for that. One thing I would like to mention is that when we started confinement, that we didn't know, everybody thought it was going to be like 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks we can, it's fine, like the H1N1 virus. Nobody thought it was going to be this powerful. The dancers organized by Rodrigo did something wonderful. They went on digital platform and did something called Ballet de Jalisco Digital, which was really a huge effort, and it kept them busy, it kept them engaged, it kept them entertained, and it helped put out the word out there that the Ballet de Jalisco is still alive, which is something commendable that they all did.
That digital, just so that you know, was former performances that had been presented at the Degollado and video. And these were put online, and it was advertised beforehand, and it usually was 3 or 4 days worth of, you could watch it continually. I know I kind of posted online each time they had a digital performance. Unfortunately, what the ballet needs is a new digital cameraman because it wasn't as good as some of the others. I know I've watched more ballet during COVID than I've ever seen in my whole life because I'm watching stream of every company in the world, and what I'm trying to do is see ballets that I had never had the opportunity to see before. So the dancers have really worked to keep themselves and the company alive. Now, this may seem, from what Slavka said, a kind of unhappy spot that we're in because we don't know where we're going with it. But all isn't lost. Even during COVID, now there are opportunities to see dance. And one former member, Fabi Rodriguez, who was part of the Ballet de Jalisco, created a ballet festival consisting of a competition for dancers and I believe choreographers, as well as including a gala with winners, as well as some soloists from the national company in Mexico City. This year's festival, the Guadalajara, will take place from the 23rd to the 25th of September. And tickets will be available through Ticketmaster, but we'll be holding a drawing for 2 free tickets to the gala, which will take place at the Foro de Arte y Cultura on the 25th at 4 o'clock. And the drawing will be at the end of the talk. I just heard today, by the way, they're giving, winners are getting scholarships as well as cash. And I just heard that the June Taylor Dance Studio, it has awarded a free scholarship for their intensive summer program of 2022. I just read that this morning. And for those of you who know modern dance, June Taylor's group is certainly one of the best. Also, 2 members of the Ballet de Jalisco, and you're here today, Emily and Carlos, raise your hands. They were frustrated with not being able to perform. And what they did is Herculean. They formed a totally independent company, which they named the Ballet Metropolitan de Guadalajara. How many of you joined me in attending their premiere performance on July 3rd? Anybody here? That was a great performance. They too have offered a set of free tickets to their next performance on September 22nd. Noah, their choreographer in residence, is going to say a few words about them and the performance of his new work, which will be premiered at the performance on September 23rd. It's at 7:30. No? Take off your mask, yeah. Thanks.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the space.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, first I want to start thanking for this space, the opportunity. And as we started this session today, we talk about dancing in the rain. Sorry that I am using my phone. My mind just wanders a lot in Spanish, so I prefer to have a script. We all are aware of the tremendous challenges that dance faces even before COVID. Now I am here thanks to Carlos and Emily, my colleagues, and the people that are deciding to work towards dignifying and giving more opportunities within dancing profession. As Susan said, it requires an enormous effort to keep a company alive, even with the state support. Now, imagine what it takes to do it without any support from the government. But at the end, and now I'll take the risk to say this, I think that something like art shouldn't depend on something that is so unstable as unfortunately our government is. But okay, enough of sad things. Now I'll take about our current project, About the Line. As a dancer, I find fascinating how we as society can find converging points in our life. I think that nowadays we are facing the great opportunity that ballet and contemporary dance are looking to each other and holding their similarities and differences in order to allow new ways of communication. About the Line allows the dancer to work with simple concepts that have the chance to get complex. I know I'm young, but I think and I have learned that dance, choreography, is about observing. And now I'll take a moment to teach you a little bit what About the Line is. So if you can join me, we are going to do a small exercise that is like the base of the piece. If you can, just if you want, just extend your arms to the side if you have space. Okay. And now, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and now just start moving your fingertips and touching them. Yeah, and just feel the sensation. And now take a little time to close your eyes and feel how these points that you are feeling are connected with your arms, with your chest. And that's the first line that we have, okay? Now you can open your arms to see them a little bit. And now, holding your arms in that position, just try to move your torso from one side to the other and connecting with that sensation that you have a line where you are moving towards. Yeah, okay? Now, rest a little bit your arms. And now we are going to go put your attention in your tip of your head. Yeah? And now, just with your mind, go to your feet. Yeah? And feel how this is another line, okay? So we have two lines right now. So the whole piece, the whole movement, it's created with those two sensations. How our body can expand in different ways. Right now we just did two, right? But when we are exploring to create the piece, I ask the dancers to see their bodies not just following the regular ballet poses, but looking for other ones, you know? And I think that these kinds of exercises are the ones that are holding the piece together. And I don't know, like, if I have more time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the piece. I don't know if you have any questions or...
We're going to take questions at the end.
Okay.
But no, if you have a specific question for him,
Yeah.
we have a little time.
No?
Well, that's a little tricky. What, because of COVID, we don't let anybody grab a
Oh, okay,
Okay.
sorry, but I think that I can hear.
They
Yeah.
can either try to say it out loud or I'll come and do a repeat. That's how we usually work it. So if anybody has a question at this moment, there will be time at the end. Let me,
Tell us about your
I just
work
didn't hear
that will
when
be
you spoke.
premiered.
Okay, yeah.